Hello, my name is Jodeline Morales. I am an undergraduate student at Berea College, majoring in Health and Human Performance and minoring in Biology. This presentation is for Dr. Michelle Thornton-Adler's class, HHP 247, Team Sports. In this particular presentation, we will be overgoing concussion protocol. We will have a pseudo patient. We will be able to overlook the SOAP method and have a treatment plan. What is a concussion? A concussion is an injury to the brain that results in temporary loss of brain function. Symptoms for a concussion can be seen through cognitive, physical, and even psychological aspects of the patient. You can see this as the patient will sometimes have difficulty thinking clearly or remembering new information. Physically, they will have a headache, or they can be nauseous or dizzy, sensitive to noise or to light. Emotionally, they can be more irritable, or they can be nervous or anxious. Causes of a concussion are usually a blow to the head. Our pseudo patient is Oliver Hampton. He is a 27-year-old male who lives in Northumberland and enjoys playing ultimate frisbee on his free time with his coworkers. On Wednesday, he fell while attempting to catch a disc. He landed first on his back and his head followed to hit the ground. Now that we know a little bit more about our patient's circumstance, we can overlook the SOAP method. Subjective are self-reported sensations, symptoms, or feelings. Objective are measurable symptoms where we can observe in detail. Assessment and treatment goals, the main problem is identified and prioritized in order to create specific goals. And then we will have a plan, as in what will be done to recover or continue recovering our patient. For the subjective portion of the SOAP method, our patient does not necessarily recall hitting his head very hard. The patient says that he did not lose consciousness, so he didn't think he had a concussion. It is important to note here that even though a blow to the head does not lead to a loss of consciousness, that does not necessarily mean that the person does not have a concussion. Symptoms for Oliver were not expressed until after the game, and because of these symptoms, his coworker recommended that he see a physician. He is complaining of headaches, nausea, and light sensitivity. For the objective portion of the SOAP method, we were able to observe that Oliver has been squinting in the presence of low light. This makes sense as he believes that he is light sensitive. As for palpation, he is tender over the back of his head and back. For range of motion, we were able to assess active and passive range of motion for circumduction of neck. Both were full range of motion and tightness was present. As for the assessment, we used the VOMS method, which is the vestibular ocular motor test. After completing each portion of the test, you will ask the patient to scale a headache, dizziness, nausea, or fogginess from 0 to 10. The first exam, which is smooth pursuits, a physician will have the patient follow their finger first in an H position, and then from the top right corner to the bottom left and the top left to the bottom right corner. Things to note here would be if the patient has any sort of astigmatism or just has a problem following the finger without moving their head. For horizontal saccades, you will have the patient have their head at a fixed position while only their eyes move from point A to point B. Here you are also looking for astigmatism or the patient not being able to have their head at a fixed position. The same thing applies for vertical saccades. As for convergence, the patient will hold a tongue depressor at arm's length. A small letter will be placed at the very top of it. The patient will focus on the small letter and slowly bring the tongue depressor towards their face. They will stop right before they can no longer focus on the small letter. The distance between their eyes and the tongue depressor will be taken. The fifth test is horizontal vestibulo-ocular reflex, where the patient will have their eyes fixed on the top of the tongue depressor and move their head from left to right. The last test, you will have your patient fix their eyes on their thumb as they move from one side to another as fast as they can 10 times. Treatment goals for a concussion protocol are to reduce symptoms and eventually be symptomless so that our patient can return to physical activity. Our plan will be to rest and reassess to check for symptoms. If no symptoms are present, then the patient will progress in sport-specific tasks. Here is a rough outline of what a treatment plan would look like for our concussion patient. At day 0 and at day 1, our patient will have no physical activity until he can come back and be reassessed. After 2 days of no symptoms, our patient will be able to move down the line and he will be asked to cycle. This is a safe way to reintroduce our patient to physical activity and see if physical activity will have concussion symptoms reemerge. If concussion symptoms reemerge, return to day 0 and have the patient rest. If the patient has no symptoms, he will continue down to day 3, where he will be asked to run, along with other more sport-specific tasks. This will include throwing and catching a frisbee. If he continues to have a streak with no symptoms, at day 4 he will be asked to jump, and again will be asked if any concussion-like symptoms reemerge. If at any point down the line concussion symptoms reemerge, return to day 0 and progress accordingly. This concludes my concussion protocol presentation, and here are my sources. Thank you.